Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for another episode of Slab Gab here on the channel where we take a look at some graded cards from my sports card collection and talk a little bit about them. And in today's installment, we're going to cover 3 cards from one of my favorite sets of the 1960s. You can tell by the background, it's going to be a 1964 Topps episode. So I don't have, a complete 64 set, nor do I aim to ever complete one. I don't have all the Hall of Famers, although that would be nice someday. But I do have some nice singles from this release. I've always enjoyed 54, and I kind of keep an eye out for them, or have over the years, and was able to acquire a few of them back in the day when prices on graded vintage cards were nowhere near what they are today. And the trio that I have were all picked up, quite a while back now, and certainly would probably buy them in a lower grade today, more like the Mickey Mantle that you see there, which was one of the first mantles that I ever picked up. It's a 2.5, but it looks gorgeous. And I mean, can you really go wrong with any vintage Mickey Mantle? These are going to be today closer in condition to that Juan Marichal that you see on the left, which is graded a PSA 7. In fact, all 3 of today's cards are graded PSA 7. As I said, that is not a reflection of the grade that I would seek today. It's just a reflection of the fact that I've been in the hobby for a while now and been collecting graded cards for a while now. So without further ado, the first of the 3, Dodgers pitcher Don Drysdale. Kind of an odd image of him here, kind of looking a little bit confused off into the distance, but still love the look and feel of the card. Obviously, he, along with Sandy Koufax, defined the Dodgers pitching staff throughout the 1960s, so kind of a neat one in that sense. And I won't turn down any Hall of Famers from this release if I can get them at a cheap price, and I certainly could, back in the day. Here's a back. The back is actually kind of a big detractor for me on these cards. I think I would like 64 Topps a lot more if it had, a more vibrant back, but these are really kind of just dull and not easy on the eyes. But it's all about the front for these, so we'll give Topps I guess a pass for the back. Despite the lackluster card back, it is still one of my favorite sets of the 1960s, so it does have a lot going for it in my opinion. Next up, we've got Let's Play 2, Mr. Ernie Banks. Really stunning looking Banks card here. In contrast to the Don Drysdale, I actually love the photograph that they used here. I know it's a little bit plain, but there's just something about the look on Ernie's face. I just really, really like this card. Have this one because when I first returned to the hobby, I was working on an Ernie Banks graded run, which in theory would have been from his 54 Topps rookie through, I think, 1971 maybe was his final release. Had, I would say, the majority of them, 2/3 to 3/4 of them all in PSA slab, but didn't have the rookie. Was kind of looking at my collection on the whole and decided that there were some things I wanted more, and broke that apart, and I did sell off some of those Banks cards, but I did keep this 64 just because it looks so amazingly crisp. This card looks like it could have fallen out of a pack, yesterday, a pack of 2022 Topps baseball. It really, truly does look that impressive. So definitely one of my favorite Ernie Banks cards. I did keep a couple of the other cards from that run as well. This certainly wasn't the only one that I hung on to, but I would say it was, a decent enough looking card that I just couldn't part with it. And years later, I'm happy that I kept it. And then the third and final player that we have to show here today, although at this point in his career, he had transitioned over to a manager, the one, the only, the great Yogi Berra, also in a PSA 7. How about that face? I just love it. The prominent ears, the bat rested on the shoulder, the way the brim of the cap rides over the border on the card, which is something that they did quite often. In fact, all the cards that are up in the background, other than the Don Drysdale, do have the player extending beyond the white border to give a little bit of a sort of a 3D effect. And this card just makes Yogi look larger than life, which he indeed was. So, this is not my oldest Yogi Berra card. It's not my most significant Yogi Berra card, but it's definitely probably my sharpest condition playing era or shortly thereafter Yogi Berra card. And I've just always loved this one just because of the prominence of his face. I mean, the sheer amount of real estate that his mug is taking up on this card is noteworthy compared to the other cards in the set. I mean, look at the size of Don Drysdale's face compared to Berra's face on this card. It's just awesome. So fun card there. I think it pairs really nicely, obviously, with the mantle. Two of the absolute legends of that Yankees dynasty from the 50s, through the early 60s. And one of my favorite 64s, and a card that I'm very glad to finally have an opportunity to show off here on the channel. So there are 3 more additions to my very small collection of 1964 Topps baseball. Hope you enjoyed these Hall of Famers. Certainly appreciate you spending a few minutes of your time checking them out. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. Until then, enjoy the hobby, everybody.